Okay, we are back with the chart update videos, which we're gonna do January January 6th, 2023. We're gonna look at the Bitcoin ETH chart and I'm gonna recap the last couple weeks of trading. So I'm back doing this. I think it really benefits me to do this. And it is at this point my system is becoming so complicated, it's not easy to copy. So I'm just caring less. Like I don't want my system to be widely copied. And System 2.0 is extremely easy to copy. System 3.0 is not. So I'm caring less. Okay, now this is where we are now, and I just want to recap. Um, if we look at my trading model, my equity curve has been small drawdown since mid-December. I haven't had any winning trades. I've only taken a couple trades and they were losers or break evens. Nothing too bad, not very exciting. So in December, in this region, end of December and start of November, I took like 10 straight losses in there, which was this drawdown. And that was as I figured out System 2.0 and I was sort of discretionarily trading, which happened right here, which was sort of, it was kind of dumb, but yeah, it looks like I actually have 6 straight losses, which I didn't even know about, and I don't even really care about that much because this is something that happens. Um, some of those losses are partial losses anyways. So yeah, I kind of took some losses in here as I tried a number of things that didn't work. However, December was quite a profitable month because I caught this long right here from here to here. And then let's put it at um let's go drop down to the 4 hour. I caught that long from about here to here. And then I caught a short to the dollar at the top and closed it down here. And then I caught a long also almost to the dollar from here to here. So December was quite good despite having a very low win percentage because I caught these 3 trades. I think I closed this one up here actually, which we can see on my monthly breakdown. I made 6% account growth, which is $14,000, only 25% win rate with 5 wins. Which 3 of those wins, actually all the wins were these because this was Bitcoin and ETH, this was Bitcoin, this was Bitcoin and ETH. Now, I have suffered a number of losses in here, some of them small losses. A couple of them were from market ordering and not, yeah, which I'm no longer doing, even though sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm just taking that out. Um, I was interested in shorts up here, but I never really got a good entry, and I don't think I took any short losses. Actually, I'm not sure. I don't remember. The longs, I took several losses in here as I tried to catch a bottom, which is normal, maybe a little bit too early. This one front ran my limit order, for both Bitcoin and ETH. At this point, I stopped trading ETH for the last 2 weeks because I was like, I need to figure out a better system. I don't like it's of why I'm getting front run. And the parallel channels and fibs are helping with that, which we're going to go look at in a minute. I caught this short right here to the dollar, and it would be running at about 5R, which would be 10% account growth because I risked 2%. However, I closed it on retracement the same day, New Year's Eve, while the fireworks were going off, which is not a good excuse, but is a reason for why that happened. So, and that is a big error because this would have paid for those 6 losses. Because those 6 losses, neither of them is typically they're partial losses. So that is a large mistake. Also, not being able to get into ETH, which we're going to look at, and then we're going to look at where we are now. It was suggested by one of the guys I talked to, Walt, to take a long around 16,700. personally, well, like could have worked reasonably. I'm not really interested in this setup because, in my opinion, this up thrust, while it hasn't hit the target, it's exhausted or exhausting. It's getting close. And we can see this because the new highs aren't much higher or falling back within the old highs. And because the final target before some kind of major retracement is most likely in this region. We could get up here and we could even take this high and get up into this region, which is something I expect to happen in 2023. I don't know when it will happen or what exactly price will look like, but I think it's more than likely we come here and we have a retracement, maybe into here, and then from there we could take this high. And then maybe later in the year we'll make it up to 22 or 25. Of course, we could just go straight up and I'll take some losses. But one of the things that I was just studying, which I made a video on, is typically before a key pivot, it will run 5 to 10 daily levels, on average 6 or 7, and before some kind of, like, we're farming short stops right now. The market alternates between farming shorts and farming longs. Sometimes it does both, but typically there's a bias. Like we spent a lot of time farming long stops here, and now we're farming short stops here. Like people who shorted the wick on the 3rd on Wednesday or the 4th were stoked, but may have gotten stopped out today or are underwater. And it makes sense to continue farming short stops and early shorts to be punished in some kind of price action like this. However, it's likely we're nearing some kind of end here. So I'm going to come back to Bitcoin. I want to look at ETH for a minute. ETH, I would have loved to get into a short, a long, but I was front ran. I had my limit order a little bit lower, if I recall correctly, and I couldn't figure out, what I haven't been able to find out is why sometimes ETH will consume a whole gap and sometimes will poke into it, and it's been unpredictable. And I'm finding that using predictive parallel channels and fibs is a way to really help with that a little bit. So here we anchor at the highs, use the low to predict, and then maybe as well draw a fib here from the bottom to the high. Would suggest that there's 2 reasons that we should just poke into this gap and not consume the whole gap. So while my long was down here, this new system would have suggested me put my long here, where like we're looking for longs here, but how do I actually get filled into it with high risk reward tighten validation? My stop could have been something like this, and that would have been wonderful because we would be, I probably would have closed by now, but it could have been like a 5 or 6 hour trade, which would pay for all those losses. Now, before we look at, that's how we've gotten to where we are, and I'm going to look at my current setups. Now, before, I want to do one other thing. Like I did take a loss shorting Bitcoin in this region, and my idea was that maybe it was early, but in order to get up here, we're taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 levels. There was a number of fair value gaps in here, and there was with the volatility in the market, a reasonable space to trade in here, a sort of a scalp. It didn't work. I don't know that I was necessarily wrong. Maybe it was better to wait for the major level, but 1 loss is fine. One comment I do want to have on it is that I think that I probably should have mitigated the loss and cut it earlier. I took 1 whole R loss at about 1.75%, which is fine. But the thinking that I have is typically, like when I enter, I'm trying to take advantage of a liquidation meeting limit orders. So these are my recent entries of winners. This was, I closed it too early, but it was still technically a winner. These were my recent entries, right? So my entry, it should be a wick. Like it should, my thesis is there's going to be a liquidation event here, which is going to move strongly in the other direction. Price action should reflect that by having a high volume 1-minute candle that fills me and price reversing aggressively. Or I think I should just close the trade. Like if price just kind of crosses my area, like I should probably just close the trade. So what happened on the most recent short is I didn't really get the reaction that I wanted and I stayed in the trade. Partially because I had closed this one too early and I was like, I should wait. But this price action on the fill was not exactly what I was looking for. It was okay, but not exactly what I was looking for. So I think closing it at like, it actually went into profit overnight. I woke up and it stopped me out and then it sort of went back into profit. And I think my entry was actually right here, 16,845 or something like that. And there's another way to trade where you have wide stops and you could just stay in the short. Personally, I prefer one to get out of my losers very quickly because they consume emotional and mental energy and dopamine and cortisol. And I want to look for new trades. And also because I prefer to trade with a higher RR. Higher RR means you're going to get stopped out and it means you're trading with tighter invalidation. So I'm trying to pick this exact wick, which I've been able to do with enough consistency to grow my account by 30% the past months. Now, this brings us to the current setups on Bitcoin and ETH. So there's two that I'm looking at. The first one is Bitcoin, and the key here is clearing the range liquidity highs. Should happen. Now, where do we enter exactly is a good question on there. So I have these yellow dots is the Leviathan liquidity. And I'm using HY Block Capital to confirm this idea that there's a lot of liquidity here. We want to enter just beyond it. And I want to put my stop in this void right here, where there's not as much incentive to push the price up here. And there's a lot of resting limit orders already, which if we look at HY Block, there is a lot of liquidity, but there is a gap right at where is it? 17. Like the safest would be all the way up here, 17,500. But I want to go for high RR. I can try again if there's another setup. That makes sense. And we are seeing a gap after 17,150 to about 17,400. There's not so much liquidity. So the question is where to enter exactly. I'm starting with my stop. Like I want my stop to be right here at 17,375, which is just before this pocket here. So I like my stop there. Because also price doesn't necessarily just hit these pockets in reverse because the forced market participation can cause the wick to extend a little bit further. That's a common thing that can happen. Looking here, I'm definitely seeing a lot of liquidity buildup, and I'm still interested in long at 16,400 under this major liquidity, and then long at 16,200 under this major liquidity, although I don't have a limit order for that setup currently. So that's guiding me to enter. My entry should be, the lowest it should be is 17,150. It should be between 17,150 and 17,200. I'm choosing to put it at 17,200. 17,150 would be reasonable, something like this, but I'm choosing to put it just beyond this gap. Might be something I might regret and might not fill. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because the new tools that I have, a predictive channel and a fib level. If I look at a predictive channel, there's one predictive channel using these two anchors here and this point up here. And then using the current move, predictive channel, which it did actually respect on today's move, predicts that on Sunday or Monday we will get filled. Sunday, most likely, price should come up to the top of the channel around 17,250, which is why I set my limit order there, and also because it can overrun activity. So I may get front run. That's okay, but I also have a short setup on ETH that we're going to look at in a minute. I also, using the fibs, we have this golden pocket area, using fib from the high up here to the low up here, which is the major fib. We already hit the golden pocket over here, so it makes sense to consider the 786 level as a retracement. I don't think fibs are super clean levels, but typically it's good to have your stop loss to allow for price going to the 786 and the golden pocket. So my stop loss is beyond the 786 in this area. Perfect. Whether it works or not, that's my reasoning for this setup. Now, I'm also interested in a short. So this might even be too early, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 daily levels down here. That is quite a lot, and that is enough to form a pivot low. There's also could be a cascade that could happen quite quickly. And my entrance is past the major liquidity to 16,400. And most of my stop is within this void here at 16,350. Now, if we look at HY Block Capital, we have liquidity to 16,400, and then there are a couple $100 of low activity, or $100 of low activity area, which is the bulk of my stop. I'm choosing to have a wider stop because I don't really see a reason to have a 0.5% stop. It just feels quite unnecessarily tight when this would be, I would suggest, like a major possibility of a major pullback before a bigger move up to take here. I don't need better than 7 RR up there. I want to stay in the trade. Now, I am looking at all this liquidity down here and interested in longs in these levels, this level, and then also along in this level if price gets down there, but one level at a time. This is my first level of long interest. I know that a lot of people right now think maybe they missed a long entry right here, a short entry right here. People thought that on Wednesday, but may have gotten stopped out. I still think it might be early because we haven't hit this target. I don't expect movement. It's Friday, and Friday is the lowest volatility day of the week. It's Friday afternoons after market close. So it would make sense if we get an impulse to come up here on Sunday. It is possible we exhaust this move and pull back, in which case I miss the shorts from this region, which is okay because my data from here and also my backtested data, we have a tradable pivot on average about twice a week. So if I miss one, it's okay. I missed the long down here. There'll always be another trade. Now, I will suggest that this is not really looking like a top to me. Like initially, that's a good reaction, but prices recovered quite nicely, and I expect higher. Like there's so much liquidity to take, and I expect higher. So I'm happy to wait. I'm not interested in chasing in, and I'm not about to market order. I'm done market ordering. If price runs without me, I'll wait 4 days. I don't care. I don't want to. It just doesn't really work for me. Now let's move on to ETH, where I also have a setup on ETH, which is maybe not as quite as good on Bitcoin. So we talked about the long from down here. There was a short entry that worked on this channel. This channel is still being respected. I wouldn't be surprised if price blows by it, which is why my stop is outside of that channel, because at this point it's been respected for long enough that it doesn't necessarily make sense to continue being respected. Still, we're looking for an exhausted up move for a pullback before we take this high. Again, I think it doesn't have to happen, but I think it's likely in 2023 we take this high and then eventually take this high and maybe this high, but I think it will take a long time to do those things. Could be wrong. Like certain things could happen where price could move fast and we could trend quickly, and it's something I want to be prepared for. But I expect some more price action, but this year with the bias to the upside, although I'm still looking for shorts and I'm still looking for both longs. I will consider trading a trending bull trends. It's rare, and I don't expect to do much of that in 2023. But if certain news events happens, it's okay. So again, a long in here could have maybe been interesting, um, but I'm just not like I'm looking for a trend exhaustion, so I'm personally not. I don't see how I would have caught that. The Bitcoin one was easier to catch, and also like it's just so tight. I prefer to wait for the actual pivot high, which could have happened today. I think it's quite unlikely. Like typically Monday marks the high and the low of the week as well, so it could happen on Monday, which is my channel suggests Monday or Tuesday. Now, if we look at the yellow dotted lines, the liquidity, um, I guess there's a hot spot up here, something I could or should consider. I'm using the channel to guide me, which maybe a mistake. We'll find out later if it's a mistake, but I'm also not that interested in short here. I know some people are testing it. Like technically we did get a swing failure, but that to me is not a strong rejection. We are just underneath and we're hanging out up here. And we created a new bullish gap that people are going to put their limit orders in the long from. So I don't think the move is quite over. Obviously I'm just above it, and I think it might make sense to do this, to change my limit order slightly. I'm in Lucky Chart Apes group, and one thing that he mentioned is like, hey, you can't set limit orders for parallel channels. And it's like, okay, well, I update my limit orders typically every day anyways, so I don't really mind. Um, so I'm gonna look at another, maybe more local channel idea because now we have a new pivot low right here. Let's see if it might suggest higher, so it's something I need to be wary of. There's also this one. So there's a couple ideas that would put us up higher. We also have the 786 level up here and the edge of the golden pocket. So I think I'm going to change my setup slightly and expect that, hey, maybe these liquidations right here will occur. This is where I dislike not having HY block. I understand HY block has some liquidity info, but they don't have the heat map, which is to me a better setup. I'm gonna look at some other ideas here, but there's a number of channels that are suggesting the possibility of higher, which could mean entering higher or it could mean have a higher stop. It's unlikely this channel continues to be respected. It's been tapped 1, 2, 3 times. A number of channels suggesting higher. So I could consider how I want to do this. So I'm still interested in breaking below this channel to the liquidity down here. I don't think it's unreasonable, even in a bullish continuation situation. It doesn't have to happen, but that price will come down here before, like, really probably just bore people. Um, so the question is, like, I'm happy with raising my entry. I don't really want to put my stop up here, but I think it would be better to do so. I think the most likely thing is it either consumes this gap or it eats this gap. There is a possibility it just pokes the gap and I don't get filled, but I want to plan for this channel being broken. So I want to enter maybe with the channel being respected, but my stop far beyond. I don't necessarily mind a 1.5%, but I think I could maybe do 1.25%. And then I can get my stop beyond that liquidation right there. Or I could just do like 1.15 right here and keep it somewhat tight. So I think I'm gonna try something like this. So we're gonna go to Bybit, and then I'm gonna be done after that. And I probably won't be on the charts that much the next couple days. Cancel my ETH short. We are at, my expectation is the channel will break now. That we will take this high, break the channel. It's possible we just take this high in reverse. ETH likes to do that, but yeah, I'm gonna try to enter a little bit higher and see what happens. The current channel, every other predictive channel points to going higher, except for maybe there's higher time frame idea. No, we already broke out of that. Okay. Enter my limit order and call it a day. So we are going to look at a 1.15% stop. And I can try other ideas up here if this one doesn't work out. Also, if I get front run and we start to reverse, then I can look for a retracement entry like I had in the retracement on Bitcoin, which is around here. Okay, so we're gonna go $4,000 risk, which is less than 2%, divided by a 0.01515 stop, divided by 40x leverage. Will put us at a order cost of this much. What we're gonna do 1285.1285.08 is our entry. Stop loss will be at 1299.9. And our take profit will be all the way down at 1175.1. And we're gonna open short. Okay, that's all for today. Much love and happy trading. I'll see you guys later. Peace.